UK. Devastating, crops left to rot in England as Brexit begins to bite.
Here's a summary of the article.
Fruit and vegetables are being left to rot in England as Brexit deters migrants from taking up picking jobs. Brexit, the effects of which kicked in at the start of the year, means hiring migrant pickers from Eastern Europe is now much harder. Barfoot's of Botley, a farming company based on England's south coast near Bognor Regis, said 750,000 courgettes were being left to rot. It's a sentiment echoed by Mark Knight, technical crops manager at Tangmere Airfield Nurseries, the largest farm of its kind in the UK. He told Euronews the extent to which migrants had stayed away had taken him by surprise. Vonk said he had 72 fewer workers than last year and, as a consequence of the shortages, crops are being left to over-ripen rather than be harvested. Boris Johnson's government has launched a PR drive, but that was last year and aimed at getting Britons to help harvest crops. Called Pick for Britain, it was aimed at encouraging those left unemployed by the pandemic to fill the gap left by migrant workers.
This post received a score of 32,000, with an upvote ratio of 90%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Nobody went to UK to pick fruit and veg thinking it was some dream job. People usually did it short term to save money up for the expenses they would usually need to save up much longer for. Students earning money for vacations and their own expenses. People who wanted to stay long term did not go to pick fruit in Britain.
Thanks for the insight, friend.
Thing is, homies sitting in the British Parliament should have done the proper research to see it coming.
They did, and they knew what was coming, but they didn't care since it allowed them to line their own pockets.
This is what happens when you have a sector that makes up about 0.5% of the GDP having its major source of labor withdrawn. What did they expect? People to pivot from their service industry, 70% of GDP, to hard manual labor?
Well, I mean, they can, if they pay significantly more. But then they have to raise prices to where they can't even compete with EU imports. Silly buggers.
And then the next Brexiteer thing is fighting the trade deficit with a self-harming trade war.
It hurts itself in confusion, zany face.
The UK has fainted.
Someone is profiting immensely from Brexit. Probably the same person that pushed for it in the first place.
Let's not forget that Dickensian Britain's least interesting person Jacob Rees-Mogg's dad literally wrote a book about profiting from such chaotic situations called Blood in the Streets, Investment Profits in a World Gone Mad.
From outside Britain, Jacob Rees-Mogg is fascinating. I didn't think people like that existed. He's like a cruel caricature of what someone from America thinks a rich British person acts like. He's like Trump, in that it's difficult for an outsider to understand why reporters and people in the street don't just laugh at them 24 hours a day.
Some people will pick a side and aim for the absolute extreme of it. It starts with wanting less red tape for your business, and ends with using immigrant corpses to bulk out your tarmac. To them, Rees-Mogg evokes the empire and reminds them that they too can think and say things even a Victorian mill owner would blush at, and have it improve their social standing. He's there to attract ire by talking up fox hunting and peasant tipping so that nobody looks at the boring ones draining taxpayers' money offshore.
I used to love watching Have I Got News for You when he was on as a guest. The others on there would just rip him apart.
You have to get the pain in the ass to pick fruit deep in the bushes, trees, as well as the easy to pick fruit at the front. The experienced pickers didn't bother and knew how to avoid management, and management would have others go back and clean the stuff that hadn't been picked properly, so you have to go and spend twice as long picking half the fruit because it's a pain in the ass to pick, while someone else just flew past picking twice as much in half the time by grabbing the good stuff right at the front. Her friends who were also supervisors would mock the pickers and sometimes were even racist to some of the African pickers. Fruit picked up out of the mud, picked while someone's smoking, picked after someone took a shit and didn't wash their hands because it's not a part of their culture.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.